Hey everyone, Paul Pomerleau here. I have a Sena SMH-10 intercom module. This is used on a motorcycle helmet so you can talk to other people. The battery on here doesn't hold a charge much anymore, so I'm going to replace it. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. I've got a new battery, but this one doesn't have a connector on the end, so I'm going to have to cut the original connector off and solder it onto here. And I'm going to use heat shrink. This is 1/16 of an inch. I also going to have a pair of tweezers. I'm going to use this to pull the connector off the circuit board on the inside. This is a Torx tip screwdriver. This is a T8. I also have a little metal spatula. I'm going to use this to remove the backing off of the intercom module. I have a knife because the battery that's in here is double-sided taped to the plastic, and I can use the knife to cut it off. On the back of the module, there's 3 screws right here, T8 Torx tip. I'm going to remove them now. Now after the screws are removed, it's still a little difficult to get the back off. They're friction fit on with these pins. These pins are soldered to the circuit board inside, and the backing plate are pressed in against it. So I'm going to use my spatula, and I'm just going to gently lift it, mostly around the pins, to get the whole backing off. I'm now going to take my tweezers and I'm going to grab the end of the connector. You kind of have to lift up while pulling out because there's a little locking pin on the bottom. This battery is double-sided taped onto the backing plate. I'm going to use my spatula just to lift it a bit until I can get my knife blade in there and cut the tape. And now comes the really fun part. Taking these tiny little wires and soldering them onto the new battery. Now for you young people out there, that might not be a problem, but for us older people, I'm going to need my reading glasses, I'm going to need a magnifier, and we're also going to need rock steady hands. I'm going to cut the connector off the old battery now, and I'm going to offset it. So this way, there's no chance of it shorting out. And I'll use my knife to remove the insulation. I'm going to cut a couple of pieces of heat shrink and slide them over the ends. You don't need a lot, just enough to cover the solder joints. It's important to have the wires remain perfectly still while you solder it to prevent what's called a cold solder joint. So I taped everything down on these scrap blocks of wood so I can solder it and it will remain perfectly steady. This is a heat strip gun. It's used to remove paint off of stuff, and on low speed it's perfect for using it on heat shrink. Now, if you don't happen to have one of these things, I have seen people use a lighter underneath. I don't like that. An open flame and wires, nothing good ever comes from that. A hairdryer is probably not hot enough. So if you have to, maybe use a toaster. Hold it over a toaster would probably get hot enough to shrink the tubing. And now it's just a matter of putting it all back together. There's a rubber ring that goes around the bottom. Just make sure it's all the way on and as far down as it'll go. We'll use the tweezers on the connector to plug it back into the circuit board. Remember, the red wire goes closer to the pins. There it is, all done. Brand new battery. Should last a few more years on the bike. Thank you very much for watching. Be safe, have fun, and we'll see you next time.